Everybody, Ghost Store is at it again. So introductions and conclusions again were due on Sunday night. Yesterday you were supposed to have done the 20% project paragraph. Again, if you haven't done either of those, the intro and conclusion, you're only missing 4% if you turn it in today, so you can still get 96%. If you didn't do yesterday's assignment, the paragraph on the 20% project that you're going to be doing, again, you could still get 98%. So make sure that you're doing those assignments. Today, we're just going to be continuing to work on our essay. So again, you've done the bookends of the essay, the beginning and the end. Today, we're going to start focusing on that middle part. And so there's going to be a total of 6 paragraphs. You've done 2 already. You're doing 2 more today. And then you're going to do your other 2 on Thursday. And then the whole rough draft, you're going to be submitting. So that'll be what we work on. So for the body paragraphs, I'm going to go over kind of like dissecting it a little bit, part of the paragraph. So first of all, topic sentences. And just a reminder that the body paragraphs are very similar to your brief write. There's going to be one part that's a little different than the brief write, but I'll go over that. So from, section to section, but there are obviously, it'll just depend on what you're writing about. So sorry, let me go ahead and mark you here. Persuade the Roman people to side with them. Right, so maybe it's ethos, it's pathos, logos. Obviously, it's going to depend on what evidence you collected last week. When we did the Padlet, you guys were supposed to collect 6 quotes. That's why we collected the quotes for these paragraphs. So maybe for ethos, you have 2 quotes from Antony. Maybe you have 2 quotes from Brutus. Maybe you have 1 quote from each. It doesn't matter. The only difference is that in the topic sentence, you would say, Brutus gives 2 examples of ethos, Antony gives 2 examples of ethos, or Brutus and Antony each use ethos to try to persuade the Roman people. So that's basically all you have to do for the topic sentence. Now, I will challenge you guys to try and not write it exactly the same way every time, but that's essentially what you're going to be doing. So that's topic sentence, and then normally in the brief writes, you guys have a summary after the topic sentence. You're not going to have that. It's going to be, like I said, a little different, but I will go over that part when we get to the outline. Right now, I want to talk about quotes first. So how do you set up quotes? Because I've told you before, I don't want you to start off a sentence with a direct quote. The start of your sentence should never be somebody else's words. It should always be your words first. So the way that would look is by introducing what's happening in the quote when the quote happens, and then blending your words with the quote. So here's an example of that. When Decius hears what Calpurnia's dream is, he explains that she didn't understand his dream when he states that his status, or the statue spouting blood in many pipes, in which so many smiling Romans face, signifies from you great Rome shall suck reviving blood. 2 things I want you to notice. One is, this isn't even a complete sentence that I quoted. I want you guys to actually start doing that more. I don't need you guys to do entire sentences. And frankly, some people have been doing 4 to 5 sentences, and it's been kind of overkill. You'll have this giant paragraph, and a lot of it's just quote. So you need to make sure that, again, stick to one sentence, a sentence that's actually going to prove your point, and then blending the sentence with your words. So again, the sentence normally starts with your statue spouting blood in many pipes. I blended it because I'm talking about Caesar in 3rd person. When Decius hears what Calpurnia's dream is, he explains that she didn't understand his dream when he states that his statue spouting blood in many places. So again, or in many pipes, sorry. But that's what I want you guys to do, because you guys have been doing better. But I want us to get away from in the text it states blah, blah, blah. And you just do the quote. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's happening when the quote happens. I want to be able to see oh yeah, after Antony talks about why they killed him, he says, or once Antony tells the people about the will, he goes on to explain that the will is going to give them blank. And then you could quote what the will gives them. Again, a quote doesn't have to be the entire sentence. It could be half the sentence. It could be even just like 4 or 5 words of the sentence, and you just like paraphrase the rest. So that's what I'm wanting you guys to get to. So that's how I want you to set up your quotes. All right, next. Probably the most important part is how do you explain the quotes? So again, what are you trying to prove? So in this case, you're showing how the quote fits the strategy that you talked about in the topic sentence. So for example, if it was the previous quote about Decius, I would say that this is pathos. So that's to me what this is. So he's appealing to his ego, he's appealing to his pride. So I would say something like, this is a great example of pathos because Decius is appealing to Caesar's sense of pride. I explained what emotion he's appealing to for pathos. If it was a scare tactic, I would say he's trying to create fear in Caesar by doing blank, by explaining how it's creating fear. So again, that's the like how it's working. Now, why is he doing it is the next part. So you're explaining why the strategy or quote was convincing to the Roman people. So again, going back to this one, I would say for pathos, the previous sentence said that it was appealing to his sense of pride. Now I would say that Decius knows that Caesar's an egomaniac and that he like has a big head. And so anything he does that's going to make Caesar feel important is going to help work to persuade him to do what he wants. So again, I explained how it was an example of pathos, and I'm explaining why it worked. For this essay about Antony and Brutus, obviously they were trying to prove different things. For Antony, I would say something like he's appealing to the Roman people because he's wanting them to, rebel or, go against the conspirators. For Brutus, he's trying to persuade them that they killed Caesar for a just cause. So that's the parts that you're going to be explaining is how did they do that? How did those strategies work to persuade them? Okay, and then this is the part that I probably get the most questions on, is transitions. And I think that's partly because a lot of your teachers, former teachers, I can't speak for all of them, but I know a lot of them probably just said do transitions and didn't ever really explain what that means. So for transitions, how do you do it and where do you do it? Basically, you're going to transition anytime you're like kind of switching from one idea to the next. And that's going to happen in a couple places. So first, you're going to need to transition from your first quote to your second quote, just like you do in your brief rights. So here's an example of what that could look like. While Antony's use of patriotism was effective, Brutus's use of patriotism was clearly superior. So this would be like in the middle of your body paragraph if you're talking about patriotism. And you're talking about like, okay, maybe your first quote was from Antony and your second quote is going to be from Brutus. So again, while his was effective, Brutus's was better. So you're making a comparison. You're making a connection between the two. So explaining like why it was better. And it doesn't even have to always be like whose is better. Let's say that both quotes were from Brutus. You could say Brutus's use of patriotism was clearly effective on the Roman people, which is why he continues to use it later on in his speech when he persuades them again using patriotism. So again, saying that like he already used it once, then he uses it again because it was so effective. So again, that's what a transition in the middle of your paragraph should look like. Okay, second, you're going to need a transition at the end of your paragraph because again, you're switching from one strategy to the next. So here's an example of that. While fear is great at motivating people to do something, appealing to their emotions can also be highly effective. Daniel, for when I'm talking about fear, what strategy do you think I'm talking about?
Scary tactic.
Right. So let's say that the paragraph I was just talking about was both my quotes are about scare tactics. The next paragraph I'm talking about based off this is what? Josh, what do you think? Appealing to their emotions. Pathos. So even though I didn't clearly state like the actual names of the strategies, I'm still like telling you what the strategies do. So while fear is great at motivating people to do something, scare tactics, appealing to their emotions can also be highly effective. This is what I talked about. This is what I'm going to talk about. So again, that's what your transitions should be doing. So how am I getting from the first quote to the second quote? How am I getting from the current paragraph to the next paragraph? Okay, and then finally, so here are the outlines. And again, these are on Canvas in the assignments. I mean, obviously the slides will be too. But topic sentence, first rhetorical strategy that is effective at persuading others. This is the part that's different than the summary. Normally you would have like a summary if it was a brief right here. It says, what is a strategy and how do people use it? So you can use real life examples as long as you connect it to Caesar. So for example, again, it's scare tactics. Scare tactics is a rhetorical strategy people use to create fear in order to persuade people to do something. You could see it when politicians try to scare people into supporting a law that they are trying to get passed, just like in Caesar, where Antony and Brutus used scare tactics to persuade the Roman people. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for here. What is the strategy? How do people use it? Make that connection. Again, introducing the quote. So what is happening in the story when the quote is given? Who is talking to who about what? Give the quote that supports your topic sentence. So again, it doesn't need to be 10 sentences long. It should only be one sentence, maybe even half a sentence, if you're doing a good job blending with your own words. Why is this strategy effective in persuading people? Why does it work in persuading them? Again, how did it work? Like I said before, like if it was pathos, what emotion is he appealing to? If it's scare tactics, what is it that he's trying to create fear in? If it's patriotism, what part of what he said was making them fill with national pride? Transition to the quote. Again, I put the example of the transition right there. Next quote, next explanation, transition. I know it seems like a lot, but I am trying to kind of go through it a little quickly so that way you guys are basically going to have 45 minutes to work on this. So that means that you guys will basically get like 20 minutes per paragraph if you're like really focused on it. One thing too that I want to kind of avoid saying, which I've been seeing a lot, it's been a while since, it's been almost a year since I've had students in the class. So I know the first couple weeks, it's almost been like the beginning of a new school year in a lot of ways. So one of the things that I've been noticing is that as I'm walking around, what I see is this. What am I doing right now? I'm looking at the Canvas page. What am I doing? Anybody want to take a guess what I'm doing? Well, checking, but I mean, I'm just like kind of going back and forth. I'm not really doing anything. Or if I'm like going to my Google Slides, for example, and I'm looking at my slides. So, okay, there's some slides. Cool, there's slides. More slides. So here's the deal. Obviously, I put all this stuff as resources for you on there, but that is the ultimate time waster, is just looking at the directions for the entire class period, looking at the slides. In last week's case, what I saw a lot of was people who were on the Padlet, and they were just looking at the Padlet and not really doing anything. Again, I even heard one student, it was pretty funny, tell another student, he had asked them, like, hey, did you do the homework? And like, when you were supposed to gather the 6 quotes, and he's like, oh no, I forgot. It's like, how did you not forget? All you had to do is copy and paste. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's all you had to do. You only had to copy and paste quotes. So here's the thing. All this stuff, they're resources for you. They are not meant to be distractors. They are not meant to be time wasters. What I should be seeing as I like walk around the class is you actually in the document typing. Again, like I've said this a bunch of times and I'll say it again. I would rather have complete pieces of garbage than nothing, I would rather have 2 paragraphs where it's like, wow, there's a lot of work that needs to happen here. But I can fix something. It's like if you go to a mechanic and you say, can you fix my car, but you don't have their car there, obviously the mechanic can't fix it. I'm the mechanic in this case. I can't fix your writing. I can't tell you what to do better if you don't give me anything. So I know that students a lot of times have this great fear about like being judged by their teachers and stuff like that. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna think this is awful, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it might not be perfect, it might need work, but my whole motto is that it can be better, it can be improved. So again, just give me something. Again, something is better than nothing, and then I can help you out. Or here's another thought, ask me questions. If you have questions, and like I said, if you're uncomfortable asking me because you feel like it's awkward to ask me in front of everybody, send me a remind message. I can respond back to you and not like have to like make you feel singled out if that's what you need to. So again, use the resources that you guys have. Stay focused on what we're supposed to be doing. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Okay? So you guys have till 1 o'clock to work on this. Obviously, if you don't get it done, it is going to be due tomorrow night at midnight. So giving you today and tomorrow to get it done. It's 2 paragraphs, but does anybody have any questions before you get started though? Okay.